All right, we're back here at the shop. We got the Cima, and now we're starting to dig into it a little bit. Really check it out. See, I started test fitting wheels on it already. We have a tonnage of parts to go on this thing, and it's gonna look really good. So what we're gonna start off doing is the coilovers. We got the Mono SS coilover setup, but on the Y33 chassis, it requires welding of the front spindle. So the spindle and strut is one complete unit. We have to cut the stock strut off and weld the bottom of the new coilovers to the stock spindle. Some people don't like doing that. I have a welder, so we might as well save the 600 bucks and weld our spindles on there. Another part I got that I'm going to install, that if you guys remember a while ago, I got a box from Japan and we got this Nismo cluster. This thing is so trick. Glare on it. Sorry about the glare. But we got the Nismo 280 kilometers instead of 180. So we got 100 more kilometers on there. And this tack is, I believe, 1,000 more RPM. And it's got the Nismo old logo on it, which is so dope. And it's white instead of being a black background. And when you take this cover off, actually every single one of these has the old logo Nismo on them, which is super cool. What we are going to do is take this apart though, and we're gonna make the mileage exact from this to the factory one. So that way we have matching mileage. It stays at the exact mileage it was, and we don't have to worry about unknown mileage or anything like that. We will keep the factory cluster with the car and also have the Nismo in there with the same mileage. So no one can say anything, and it will all be documented. So it keeps its original 43,000 miles, whatever it is. It's right at 43K. But yeah, TC 105 ends, coilovers, Apexi intercooler, Nismo cluster. Obviously not doing everything today, but we are going to start this little project. So we're gonna start by ripping the trunk apart to get to the rear coilovers. That is the goal right now. All right, to start these coilovers in the rear, we are in the trunk. We are going to have to pull this big, I don't know what we'd call it, maybe a just finishing panel, I don't know, whatever it is. We got to pull this out. Sound deadening. It says the bolts for the factory coils are behind this, so it's a bunch of little push screws everywhere. We're gonna pull those out and hopefully not have too much trouble pulling this piece out. All right, so we got the rear divider out of here, and that's all it is, and the gas tank's behind it. Never seen a setup like this really, but the gas tank's all exposed back here, and it has a factory rear strut brace on it, which is pretty cool. It's got a front one and the rear one. But yeah, we have access to the shocks now. So since this is a 3.0 TR, it does not have the hydraulic suspension, thank God. And it's just regular strut swap, shock swap. You know, 2 bolts, 1 bolt in the bottom, bing, bang, boom, done in the back. So that is where we are at. We're gonna swap them out, be all done with the back. And the front is a little more involved, so we'll probably start the front tonight, but I don't know if we'll be finishing it. But we get these rears swapped out for now at least. Yeah, once you get to the bolts in the back, the upper rears, it's basically exactly the same as the S chassis. All this stuff is super similar to S chassis or R chassis. Control arms, the toe arms, camber arms, shock, all same as S chassis. So much so that you can actually put S13 and S14 coilovers on these. The S14s sit a little bit on the higher side in the rear, so you are better off with S13s in the rear and adjust them to suit your height. But yeah, they are compatible. You could put S chassis stuff on this, and you could convert the front to run S chassis stuff, and I kind of wish that I did that, but it would end up being a lot more money versus just making these coilovers work, which are for this chassis. and doing a little bit of welding on the spindle. You know, if I fall in love with the car and I want to go a little further with it, then we'll talk about doing S chassis front suspension. But for the time being, this should fit the build just right. It should lower it enough so I can get a nice stance out of it, and we won't have to worry about much. So let's pop this out. Just like S chassis, we took the bolt out. It's up, unbolted on top, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Just pop her out and then pull it. Now, the left side rear was completely smoked. There's fluid all over it, and that sounds like it was my noise that was clunking in the back, was this rear shock being completely smoked, because everything else is tight. So I'm willing to bet once we put the coilovers on and get everything all set, that clunking is gone, because that shock was gone, heavily gone. All right, we got a big difference between the stocks and the Mono SS. They came out of the box at this height. This is probably right around where we're gonna want to run height-wise. So we are just going to snug it up at this height, make sure they're even, and throw them in. But you can see how much adjustment they have over the stock stuff. Stock, this thing was monster trucking pretty good. So, I mean, the stock will sag more than the aftermarket setup to begin with. So a solid 3.5 inches will in reality be 2.5 inches. So that's where we're gonna start, and we can always adjust from there once it's in the car. So that's gonna be the ride height for now. And once it settles, this is gonna be pretty darn good. Probably gonna go down about another 1/2 inch. A little bit of a space around there, and we're gonna be golden ticket. We're gonna roll the rear fenders heavily. Needs a roll for sure. But roll and a little spacer, and we are golden showers. This is a perfect height for the rear. Nice. Very nice. I approve. All right, we got the rears finished up, and it looks awesome. Even at that height in the air with it sagging, it looks so much better than what it used to. Look at that, that's insane. All right, we are back at the shop to continue doing the coilovers on the Y33 Cima. And now we're to the not so fun part. So as you can see, we got the front strut set up. However, it is made on to the knuckle. It's all one unit. So we have to take this whole knuckle off. We have to cut the strut off and weld around here. So I don't know why they powder coat it when you got to grind it down and weld it anyways, but that's what today's job is going to be. We got the whole first spindle stripped down to bare nothing. I didn't want to film taking everything else apart, because I mean that's the same on any car, same as any S chassis, boring. But I want to show you guys after it is all stripped down. So all we have is the top 3 in the engine bay left, and I took the nut off of this. We just gotta whack this with a hammer, and yeah, this whole spindle assembly is free. Really not that big of a job. You know, all came apart fairly easy. The car's in pretty good shape. It's not all crusty. You did need a impact screwdriver to get these off. They came right off though. Nothing else was stuck. Everything came right off. So now we're gonna drop this down, but we do have a whole nother side to do before we get to cutting and welding and all that good stuff. All right, you know it couldn't, oh, I got you got dirt over my face. All right, you know it couldn't go completely easy. The left side came apart way too easy, so you know what that means. The right side had to give a little problems, so let's check it out. First off, the ABS sensor. It did not want to come out. I tried for a while. It started moving on the back, but the front was not going anywhere. So I decided to just put the screw back in, tap it in as best I could. and I unplugged it from the engine bay and just ran the wire out. We'll leave it in there. And hopefully it didn't split apart enough that it ruined it, because they're like 250 to 300 bucks. It is the same as a Q45 part, so you can get them here in the US. They're just fucking expensive for no reason. Here we're at. We cut the strut, and then I took a flap wheel on my grinder and just smoothed everything out, made it flush. And then I used my marks to line it up, dropped it right in. So now, all there is to do, and what it has this little post on the back, that goes right in the center of the rear. So as long as you center that in the back, you are good to go. I'm going to double check it with the other strut that I have not cut yet, just to measure everything, make sure it's in the right spot, and then it's ready to weld. Alright, so we are cutting the second one now. And Mr. Ant came to help, and Mr. Donald's over there for emotional crystal support too. He brought his crystals to give us good luck.
Oh, a little pee-pee.
Oh, whoa.
It's taking a little wee.
That doesn't seem like very much. The last one had a lot more than that. I wonder if this thing was leaking.
Right through the top.
Oh, that stuff stinks. You smell that? You don't smell that?
I don't smell it either.
Oh.
Maybe Ant farted.
Yeah.
Stinky. It's located, Mike.
There we go.
Just like that.
Just like that. When I move, you move.
Just like that.
Alright, so here is the cut knuckle in its rough stage. Now we are going to smooth it out with the grinder and get them both ready to weld up so we can finally put this thing back together. Mr. Donald is leaving halfway during the coilovers.
I hope to see it sitting though. That's a very nice purchase. I need to say this one thing though. I know you're a always been this way. Big fishbowl guy. I think it needs like 20s. Got no privacy curtains. It's more of a VIP style.
You didn't hear what I said before?
No, I did not.
Privacy glass. I can't take the tints off. That's straight fucking...
in the glass. Like Porsche.
I can't take them out.
Fuck yeah, so you gotta match it now.
I got no choice.
It's in the glass.
You can't take the tints off if I wanted to.
So Mike is finally gonna be rocking tints. It's proper on this car, I think. Personally.
Yeah, this is the car to run them, I guess.
Yeah, it's that like VIP style.
I'm actually quite upset that it has privacy glass on it. My R34 had privacy glass too, if you remember.
Yeah, she was dark.
Yeah, real dark. This is pretty fucking dark too.
I mean, I can't see it, but it looks, yeah. Can you see in it?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like 15.
Yeah.
Razor.
Like illegal, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's nothing, they could bring a razor blade to it and there's nothing you can do about it. It's fucking the glass.
So can you get away with it, like legally at that point?
I don't know. What are they going to do?
I got this car from Japan. I don't know.
It has factory Nissan privacy glass. It was an option. So you can't take it off. So everyone's heading out. So I guess I'm just going to finish up welding this for tonight, and I will finish putting it together tomorrow because I have been working on this for quite some time now. It is a very time-consuming process doing these coilovers on this car. So if you want to save the money, it's going to take you a while, but it's worth the extra 600 bucks you save. All right, so after measuring and cutting and grinding and measuring and measuring and measuring, an hour of measuring, then welding, they are finally all done. Welds came out nice. Penetrated perfectly. This is a great welder. This is the same one that Dagnell has. He recommended that I buy it, and super happy with it. I've had 220 welders my whole life, and I really didn't need a 220 welder for what I'm doing. So he convinced me to get the 110 welder, and it welded these just perfect. I mean, I'm not a professional welder by any means, but they came out pretty good. You know, I can't complain. Kind of hard to see, but they came out really well. penetrated nice. They're not going nowhere. They're strong. You will bend these before you break them. All right, I could tell you that going together is a lot faster than taking it apart. So it only take me about 5 minutes so far to throw it all together. I still have to adjust and tighten the coil itself, but it's all going together fine. All right, so we finished up the other side today, got the car back together, and now we are just down to fine adjustments. So we lowered the car down on these wooden blocks. Don't mind the bucket of oil. We are just changing the oil. Judging by the oil in the air filter, this thing has been sitting a very long time. Luckily, they don't use ethanol in their fuel. I think that's what saved it and why it still runs so well. But I think this has been sitting a very, very long time, and it wasn't really maintained very well. Look at the filter I pulled out of it. It is fucking disgusting. It is all clogged up and nasty. The oil looks like it hasn't been changed in a very long time. It's pitch black, but it's still in there, so that's a good sign. So I decided to drain the oil. We got fresh oil. I'm gonna go get a fresh filter in the morning. We're just gonna let it drain and get everything out overnight. Let it keep dripping, get everything, every little drop out of there, that dirty old oil. But yeah, coilovers are done. Now it's down to fine tuning them. I have them at the lowest setting in the front, and it's really not as low as I'd like it to be. So I gotta figure out what I'm doing in that situation. Maybe change the springs. Hopefully it settles a little bit. There's a couple little things I could try and do to get it right where I want it to. It's real close to where I want it to be, but it's not quite there.